tied to that, or is that interest being diverted to another fund? Is one of the questions I had on that one. And then it talks about you're rejecting of bids for contract, seeking a contractor for the Emmons-Bazanski Safe Routes project. Really, how much engineering goes into making a sidewalk? You know, to get the kids to and from school. And then the other thing I have is the rec department took a tree down out in front of our house at 247 Amherst. God, about 2 or 3 years ago. I know I brought it up then. When they dropped the tree, they cracked the concrete. And they said they'd be out in a couple of months to fix it. I said years, right? They said months. So when are they going to get out there and actually fix our sidewalk? Because you know, I've been trying. You know, anytime you try to call, you get no answer. So, and all right. So that's pretty much about what I have there. So, y'all have any questions for me?
Administration, do you know what's happening with the Safe Routes to School Fund?
Certainly. So we have 2 resolutions on tonight for that project. The first question is, no, we're not holding any money. It's a reimbursable grant where they will give us the funds as we incur the expenses. We had to do a corrective resolution. 211 is a corrective resolution because I omitted a phrase from the original resolution that the state wants to see. So that's why 211 is on. 213, there are requirements for set-aside businesses that we need to comply with. So we are asking council to reject the bids because it wasn't in the bid document. It's now in the bid document. They approve the resolution. We will re-advertise and hopefully we will get a successful bidder and put it on and get the project on. But keep in mind, this is a federally funded project. So when you talk about engineering costs, they're complying with both federal and state standards, which means it has to go back and forth multiple times. Yeah, it's curb ramps, it's signage, it's a couple other items as well.
And can administration look into the subject of sidewalk repair? Sounds like we're overdue.
Yep, I can take a look at that.
Thank you.
And sorry, I just thought that made me think of one more thing. Out in Lake Valley Acres, the streets are supposedly avenues, and an avenue is defined as a street that's tree lined, and they've cut all the trees out, and actually by cutting some of those trees out, it's actually up the heating and cooling costs of some of the houses. So just let you know. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marie Reynolds. I'm at 46 Horizon Road. I have, last week there were a couple questions that I just wanted to follow up on. Mr. Hornicle explained that the warehouses and some of the redevelopment projects that are coming in now are not under the pilot program, but rather under the partial exemption abatement program. And I wondered if anyone could tell me when that ordinance was passed here in the township that established the guidelines for that program?
Many years ago. You could look it up. It's in the code.
It's in the code. I think we did it in 2021. That's what mine. It's in the code.
2021? Okay.
I'll look while you're talking.
Pardon me?
I could look while you're talking.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. And then who serves on the internal review committee for that program, for the partial exemption abatement program? The internal review committee, which is highly recommended by the Department of Community Affairs.
It's usually the tax collector in conjunction with the director of community development.
And has that been established by ordinance or resolution to establish that committee? I don't see it listed as one of the boards or committees for the township.
Under this form of government, the administration has significant under Faulkner powers, so it doesn't need to be established.
Can't hear you.
doesn't need to be established by resolution or ordinance. They organize themselves in implementing the code.
Okay, so it's only township officials then, administrators, is that the idea? Is that the
It's
idea?
ultimately who the
It's,
mayor and the
it's the
administrator decides.
Professionals that deal with this on a day-to-day basis, Ms. Reynolds.
Okay, and under the partial exemption abatement program, is it the same as the pilot program that taxes are not appropriated to the schools, the school district, as well as to the township and the county?
No. Everybody gets their percentage, so year
The
one.
schools get
Yes,
apportionment of those taxes paid by
in year
those.
one, there is no taxes assessed on the improvements. Land's always taxed. No taxes are assessed on the improvement. Year two, it's 20% of the improved value, and that is split between all the tax units. Year two, 40, 60, 80, till it's fully phased in. And that's available for any township resident.
May 19th, 2021.
Thank you.
It's section 162-1. It's where it starts in the code, so you can see it all in there.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to use up my 5 minutes. I know that I'm actually here this evening primarily because of the plan for number 1 Clubhouse Road in Browns Mills. I know that most people don't even want to hear about this. We have so many issues in front of Pemberton Township right now that everyone really wants to deal with the issues at hand and the major things that are coming forward, and no one really wants to think about history, and we're all worried about revenues coming in, and history is not a major priority. I get that. But I'm going to ask council to please take a breath on this project. My reasons are many. First of all, who owns 1 Clubhouse Road?
You should finish all your questions.
Okay,
Technically,
all
that's the way
right.
it's supposed
I would like
go.
to know who is the owner of Clubhouse Road. If it is not the township, when was it sold and for how much? In the March 2018 Town Center redevelopment plan, the need for a hotel and recreation areas were determined. And the 2 places that were of primary interest in developing a hotel and primary recreation area within the town center are the Browns Mills Supply Building, which is on the agenda this evening, and also 1 Clubhouse Road. And the plan that was laid out for 1 Clubhouse Road was vastly different in the redevelopment plan than it is. Now that was 2018, and a lot has happened, and I'll grant you that, a lot has happened. The township sucked up all that property, you bought all those properties in the town center, and you decimated it, and what was there then is not there now. So I think it's time for a new plan. I don't think you have a plan. I think that you're jumping at the first thing that comes along, and I'm not sure that we should be doing that. And here are a couple of reasons that I say why. With all deference to the person who came forward with this plan, I think that every one of us would want to be sitting on that grassy hill right now overlooking the lake. We all like to be there tonight rather than sitting here. It's beautiful. The schematic is gorgeous. I don't think it's what we want or what we need right now. To develop that into rental property on the upper 2 floors will do what it does to every Victorian property in Pemberton Borough, what it's done to every Victorian property in Mount Holly. It will ruin it. Number 1, that's a huge problem. Number 2, with all deference to the person who made that presentation last year on what the plans were for that building, I have some real questions, and I know that we've had real problems with some of the developers that we've been dealing with here. And I wonder who does the screening of the developers and who does their background checks. But according to what I've been able to find, before and after properties, which is located at 6 Bain Lane in New Egypt, Tyrone Gillen, Executive Chief Officer, is a holding and investment office. The category is investors. Industry is real estate investors except property operators. Portfolio management. It was formed in 2019. It has 2 employees and its revenue is listed by BuzzFeed as $119,642. I'm not sure we want to hand over a $600,000 building, even in its current state, that has 248 years of history, to this developer. I don't know what we're thinking. I think we need to take a beat. I really do. I think we're pushing stuff through like crazy that we're not really researching or studying, or we're not ready for it. And I really, really would urge you, to really stop this. We have too much history there. It's a glorious building. It's the gemstone of our community. Brown's Mills was built on the grist mill right across from it. Yes, okay. Are you telling me my time's up? All right, I'm done. I'm done. You know how I feel.
Thank you, appreciate it. Question, do we, who owns that now? Do we still own it, or have we sold it?
The redevelopment agreement on that property was approved by council unanimously in August of 2023. It was sold in December of 2023. By the way, the individual that you mentioned is a township resident. They do not have any plans to tear the building down at all. In fact, their goal, wait, please.
Yeah.
Their goal is to restore as much as they can to keep especially the first floor. They want to keep the staircase intact, the furnishings along the wall, the fireplaces. They want to do as much as they can to preserve that property. And their agreement requires them to open it to the public as a lounge, so the public gets to enjoy it. We sold the property. We had a couple other companies that were interested. We sold it for $250,000. The contractor's estimate for the cost just to get it habitable was somewhere over $250,000. There was no copper wiring in place. The upstairs floors were torn apart. The plaster and lath was all over. Vandals had been in there. Homeless people broke in numerous times. So it's not like a light lift for anybody to restore it. Nobody was eager to do that. And as you know, it's decimated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Guthrie, 317 Birmingham Road. I had concerns about the 5-year abatement program also. During the last special meeting that was held, there was so much that took place during the beginning of that meeting. A lot of people got up to speak. I spoke. My head gets all jumbled. I get nervous every time I come up here. But I wasn't sure if I heard it right, that we were offering some of these, these millionaires, these contractors that are coming in and building warehouses, maybe I didn't hear it right, a 5-year abatement program. And then, because I thought that's what I heard, I had looked into it and seen, how they don't pay any taxes the first year, and it goes on to 20%. And my taxes, and everybody in the township, our taxes were just raised because the township was saying it needed more money. So if we need more money, instead of taking it from the residents, why not take it from these millionaires instead of offering them a tax abatement program? And if it was something that was offered quite a long time ago, there's a whole section in the E-Code 360, 162 3-9 that says we can terminate this agreement also. So, if this year we're finding, hey, we want to raise all the residents' taxes, maybe we should reconsider offering these tax abatement programs and get full value from these millionaires on the properties during their construction. I don't understand why we're offering all of these deals, like the pilot program, even to the warehouse down the road from my house. It doesn't make sense to me. So, if we can offer it, can't we terminate it also? That's my question.
Go ahead.
You good?
It's in the township code, it's available to everybody. I mean, the idea of this is to encourage investment where it wouldn't happen. And then you pay less in over 5 years, and then you come to full taxation, where investment wouldn't be made. That's the idea.
When you say
You don't
everybody,
judge
it's everybody.
applicants based on wealth. You base it on whether they're investing in your community or not.
Andy,
Yeah.
if I can add in.
Sure.
I'm going off of memory because I was probably in the audience sitting here listening to this when it was talked about years ago. And I think one of the big things was people like us. We want to add a room onto our house or fix our house up and it increases the value. This gave us incentive to do more things to
It
our
was not
our res-
offered to me when my house burnt down.
Ma'am, I'm just telling you what I remember from the meetings a couple years ago. And I think you probably built your house before this was done, 2001, was it, Andy?
21. This was
Or
adopted
21,
in
excuse me.
2000.
So,
Okay.
I mean, I remember them talking, they were primarily looking at residential houses, people improving their homes was the big incentive for this. If I remember right, I could be wrong.
That actually is a nice thing to do for the residents because we should be doing things in the township for the residents. Why are we offering it to these rich builders, commercial
You made your
builders?
point.
Ms. Guthrie, we understand your point. The ordinance is written and applies to everybody. I understand what you're saying.
But do we have to approve it?
It's in the law. It's currently in your code. So that it applies to everybody. It's like anything else the council has.
Should I mention that?
Just doesn't seem right.
Thank you.
Good evening. Massachusetts Community 408 Montana Trail, Presidential Lakes. All right, so we've been talking master plan for a while. It's nice to see something on here, the resolution of the ordinance regarding the master plan, but I do have a couple questions.
I think it's actually gonna be pulled tonight. Go ahead.
So, I'm assuming that this went out for RFP and we had a number of responses.
We have two responses.
Two responses. And it was ERI that was selected or is on the agenda tonight to be approved, is that correct?
That's the, as what's on the agenda, yeah.
So they were also the same company that did the last master plan, correct?
No.
They were not?
Wasn't it Rick Reagan? I don't know what firm he was with. I don't know what firm he was with. It was like Reagan and Associates, Richard Reagan.
Was it? I thought it was ERI.
Yeah.
No, okay. So if it went out for RFP and there were only two responses, how long did the RFP go out for? Is it typically a
It's
2 to 4
either
week?
10 or 20
I thought we were
days.
gonna let him ask all the questions.
Yep, sorry. Yep, that was my.
We're trying to
Yeah,
follow-
that's the first question.
Yeah, we're trying to streamline the meeting. I apologize.
How long did it go out for? Okay, because typically it's a 2 to 4 week RFP. And out of the two responses, who was the other responding? Those are my questions.
Yeah, fair enough. So what we do is, every year we put out an RFP for our professionals. We solicit all of our professionals, usually during the month of November into December, and then at the beginning of the year, the mayor makes recommendations to council to approve the professionals for planners and special projects planners, architects and engineers and special projects engineers. So we sent this solicitation to 3 planning firms. We gave them 2 weeks to put their proposals together and respond. 2 of the 3 firms responded. The other firm was Mark Rems's firm, and he was proposing to do it with a sub-consultant. I can't think of their name, but that's how pretty much it worked.
So the RFP went to 3 targeted
Three
professionals
firms that were approved,
that
correct?
were approved.
Yeah.
How- Maybe I don't understand the process. I'm not the smartest person in the world, okay? But if they're approved, it's almost it orders pre-selection.
Right.
If you only go,
So,
why did
okay,
you just go out?
so that's really like not an accurate thought, like in any
Well,
way. So I'm just, in this way,
Okay.
which is, the township puts out requests for proposals in the fall,
Mhm.
November, and open to the world. Lawyers, engineers, planners,
Oh, so it did
architects.
go out to more, so it did go out to.
Yeah, it goes out to the world.
Okay.
And then the township in November gets responses that are reviewed under the mayor's administration reviews and negotiates contracts, so they're really not negotiable because it's a proposal, and then makes recommendations to the council, and then at the reorganization meeting in January, the council adopts a resolution, usually accepting the mayor's recommendations. And as Daniel pointed out, there were 3 planners, different firms, who submitted and were qualified, so it's almost like they're pre-qualified. And then you go out, and then the administration goes out and among their pre-qualified planners and said, hey, and they do this with engineering work too, and say, hey, we have this project, i.e. the master plan, how much, would you do it for, and what's your proposal? So of the pre-qualified firms, 2 of the 3 submitted. That's what they did.
That was the piece that I was missing, that original RFP that goes out, then 3. Understood. Okay, thanks for the responses, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Mike Sonica, 92 Straighttown Road. Just have a couple of questions here on 2/20/2024, authorizing the award for master planning services. And then you have the ordinance for the special emergency appropriation for this money. When did we just do the budget approval? When did you spend all that time looking at what you needed for the budget, and all of a sudden you need a special 150K appropriation? Who failed in this planning? How often is a master plan done? Every 5 years, 10 years? How did you miss this in the budget, and all of a sudden now you need an extra 150K? When you passed the budget, you were so happy that you barely raised it. And all of a sudden now, oh, we need a special appropriation. When's the next special appropriation coming? Was the budget just a bunch of smoke and mirrors? Next. Premier Technology Solutions, new business, $12,000 for 3 years of cloud backup storage. $4,000 a year for cloud backup storage? Are we backing up, the whole Trenton State House? How much backup do you need for $4,000 a year? Who is Premier Technology Solutions? Is this the one in New York, the one in Southampton, PA, the one in Chicago? There aren't any companies in New Jersey or Burlington County that can do this to give the money. The money's going out of state. And then you're also gonna give them the contract for 4 iPads and some scanners for community development. I'm guessing that's for the code enforcers who are going out looking at stuff, but I don't know what it's for. That price seems reasonable, but $12,000 for 3 years of cloud backup, unless you're having a whole server farm taking, 12,000 is a lot of money. Sounds like a rip-off.
Wanna wait for your answers?
Yeah.
Doesn't wanna wait?
He's done.
Okay. So,
To address,
first of all, Mr. Salkin, I guess you must have missed the budget meetings, because council asked the same question about you. In fact, Councilman Moore was very diligent. He's like, I don't see the money for the master plan here. And the answer is, according to our CFO, if we do an emergency appropriation, we can smooth the cost out over 5 years instead of eating it all in 1 year. Additionally, we didn't have the actual cost for the master plan until we solicited our firms. So that's the answer number 1. Answer number 2 is we store a heck of a lot of data because we have all the police video, and it's like 4 terabytes worth of video from the dash cam cameras and the body worn cameras. So the price that you're looking at is a 3-year contract. It includes the Datto hardware machine, the Datto subscription, and the cost of backup. I don't think it's a bad deal at all. The last question about the iPads and whatnot, everything that we get to, and it's, by the way, it's Premier from from Southampton, and we did an RFP that was published on the street for 20 days. And they came in with the best package of the actually they were the only ones that applied this year. 9 companies picked up the RFP, only 1 applied. We've been using Premier, they do very good work for us, and everything we buy from them comes from a purchasing cooperative. They're not adding anything to it, they're giving it to us at the cost. The only charge they charge us is either $100 or $200 as a setup fee to program it and get it set up so that it's ready for the employees to use, and they're not sitting on there for an hour or 2 trying to figure out how to turn it on and access what they need.
So the special appropriations only costing us $30,000 a year over the next 5 years.
So that would be the idea, that you would spread out over 5 years, we wouldn't have to do all that expense.
Thank you.
Hello, Pemberton 308 Summer Trail. My question is just, what exactly are you affirming in the township civil rights policy? Resolution 209.
Anything else? Yeah.
No, that's it.
This is what the MLGIF requires us every year to pass a resolution reaffirming our commitment to the Civil Rights Act.
I didn't hear him, I'm sorry.
I said the municipal excess liability joint insurance fund, MLGIF, requires us
Oh,
every
joint,
year.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening?
Mark Hollis, 35 Northwoods Road, New Lisbon. I just had a question about the contracts for the Rockefeller properties along Route 206. Is there knowledge of whether the contract has been signed between the landowner and the developer?
Is that your only question?
That's my only question.
I'm not privy to anything between the landowner and developer, I don't know that.
Thank you.
I can just tell you that typically they get the contingent contract signed. In other words, if they get all the approvals and get all that, then they have deals.
Speak up.
Usually, the developer would enter into an agreement with the seller. And part of the agreement would be, if I get all the approvals to do everything I want, then I'm gonna buy your property. And the seller says, okay, if you get them all, I'll sell it to you, and they agree on the price, that's typical. So I would be surprised if they're spending money out there and don't have any kind of agreement with the owner. That would be unusual.
Thank you.
Mr. Ernst.
Good evening, Council. For the benefit of our business administrator, my name is Pat Giberson. I reside on the Agricultural Advisory Committee as chair, just so we now know that. Couple things I got here to go over. I wasn't here last meeting. Question one, I know there was a holiday, but don't we usually meet on the first Wednesday of the month, which that would have been on the 3rd, which we could have done? Why did we call a special council meeting after that?
Is that your only question?
No, not done yet.
Okay, keep going.
All right, we're still going.
Okay.
The other thing is with regard to the Agricultural Advisory Committee as an ad hoc to the planning board, I think that, you know, there should be some notification of what's coming through here. Obviously, all of us, the residents and everybody, are having trouble keeping up with the inflow of what's coming through this township at the moment. Now, going back with the reports that we keep getting done, or surveys, or whatever you want to call them, this is a master plan consistency review. Now, if we're not going to go along with the scope of what we're paying for to have these studies done, I really don't see the sense in having them done. Now, I quote some of this out of here. To improve the scenic quality of Pemberton's arterial gateways. All right, so our arterial gateways now are going to be warehouses. To include community leaders and stakeholders in the process of development decision-making, which I think that directly comes to the committee that I sit on. I have not heard anything from our administrator or from our mayor on that. And to that point, the other one is to protect and maintain the quality of surface and groundwater. We're having an issue here that we're not looking at or addressing, that the recharge system on farm ground is highly valuable. That goes back into the aquifer. You now have warehouses, parking lots, asphalt, not going into the recharge system of an aquifer. But yet, we're putting wells in for these warehouses in these developments that are drawing from that aquifer. If you have $10,000 in the bank and you keep withdrawing $1,000 every week without putting anything back into your account, eventually you're not going to have any money in the bank, and you're going to get, a check bounce, and that's where we're heading to. The other part of this, to promote the continuation, and I highly emphasize this, an expansion of agricultural and horticultural uses. Well, I'd like to know how we're expanding when we're taking farm ground out of production. That doesn't seem like expansion to me. That seems like it's detraction. With that being said, this is affecting livelihoods that this township council and administration doesn't seem to take into consideration. Once again, I'm not, and I know this is gonna come back to, well, you don't tell a landowner what to do with the ground. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. They can do whatever they want with the ground. But the problem being is, with that being said, this body has put them in that corner to start with. Because anything that had to do with any conservation being done, county and state were basically told to hit the bricks. So with that being said, the overlay, the zoning and things that was done by the zoning board and this council has had that happen. So they boxed that landowner into a corner too, to not have preservation. Now, the other one, before I go on this, I think it was April 5th was our last meeting of the Agricultural Advisory Committee. I submitted 2 nominees for that. One of them is sitting in the audience. I still have not heard back anything on that. Now, I believe that's the mayor's prerogative to do that. I don't know if you're that busy or if those nominees do not fit your criteria, resumes were sent with them. I would like to at least have an answer why they were not put on to nomination. That's it now.
I would like an opportunity, if I could, just to respond to a couple of the items. Mr. Robertson, I did forget that you were the chair of the agricultural. Not because Councilman Ward reminded me, but that night at the meeting, I was looking at Mr. Budd, who I thought was standing directly across from me, and Mr. Ward was reminding me that you were the chair. Mr. Budd was standing against that wall, and I had him in my mind. Regarding the comments about the aquifer, as you're well aware, any drilling that's done, any water allocation permits that are afforded are studied and evaluated and ultimately approved, not by Pemberton Township, not by Pemberton Township Planning Board, not by Burlington County, not by the Burlington County Ag Board, but by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, Bureau of Water Allocation. They're the ones that are responsible for that, sir.
I am very aware of that.
Okay.
But as we continue, this is another thing. This is going in here one by one with these warehouses and developments. Nobody has looked at the larger picture of what is going on. The DEP gets a proposal one at a time for these allocations. They're not seeing the whole picture either.
I disagree. I disagree.
Let him finish talking, please.
There's no reason to have a back and forth.
Well, I just want to respond to one other
The
thing.
resident made his point.
I want to respond to one other thing, though. You may be unaware of this, but both the mayor and I were trying to work with the state board to preserve farms here in Pemberton. We actually contacted property owners on that 206 North Pemberton Road corridor, and we asked them to sit down with, I think her name was Cindy.
Cindy
Yeah.
Roberts.
Right, Cindy Roberts. I made calls myself, I asked them to sit down. They declined. They
Really?
declined.
Not what
I got a different story.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't need to debate that in public. Well,
Why not?
The truth
Why
for
not?
once in
well, because the time is up, we're up to the next resolution.
Well,
You
do we
can
have
answer
anything
questions.
on where my nominees sit that I want to put onto this board?
Still being considered.
What's that?
It's
They're
not a
still
council
being
member.
considered.
Well, I think 4 months is enough time to go through a resume and consider something.
If you have an issue with the mayor, you can take it up with the mayor, it's a council
We
meeting.
take your point. We take-
Very good.
It has been long enough.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Phillips.
Mrs. Phillips, can you take the mic down a little? It's like 3 feet over your head. It'd be 3 feet over my
Okay, good evening, everybody in general. I've been here every 2 weeks or whatever, or every 3 weeks. First, I'm going to start with a good part. I want to thank you, the administration and the public work. They did pick it up a sign, was in the middle in the median in Country Lake, on Spring Lake Boulevard. I called them in May. Finally, they got picked up last week. Somebody in the median are throwing garbage there. If I only can say who did it, I think I will win a medal, okay? I can approve that. Okay, now, my question. I've been living Presidential Lake for almost 44 years. In this past 10 or 12 years, when that developer came, the last development came on Presidential Lake, we have about 60 or 65 homes. I do not recall how many. I used to have a good water pressure because all of us got wells in there. If I'm not mistaken, attending another meetings, the planners stated to me and the developer, do not affect our well. Baloney, don't believe these people. We know ourselves, we're not stupid. We may be pinies, but guess what? We know the deal. Okay, now, my question is going to be in reference to the Paul Bridge Road development. We're talking about beautify our town. But you know how beautify our town start? For the center, downtown. Our previous administration, they saw they were very smart. They became real estate. They got all these houses. But guess what? As a proverb saying, you kill the cow, you don't get milk. And that's exactly Pemberton did. When they got all this land and everything, now they still sitting in there with nobody. That's why you need money. They decided we're going to go to the cannabis business now. Not happy to be killed our resident, the young generation, because that's what we are doing right now. Okay, my question in reference to the Paul Bridge. I got a question for administrator when I'm done. That little part where was destroyed, they took it apart. That part was put by the green, how they call it, Green Acres. I want to know that. You can answer me that. I'm not done yet. Okay, now, I travel to Lakehurst Road. And I see around there, they've been digging holes and holes for fixing the water pipes and whatever. Are we, as a resident of this township, in this administration, are we putting water for these people and putting all these pipes and everything for them to go and build those houses we're talking about in Pemberton, the Greenbird Farm, developer or whatever. Where these people go and get the water? Rockefeller and Paul Bridge Road activity, I cannot remember the name of the place. The guy stated to me in the past that he was not going to get the water for Pemberton. He was getting from New Year. I'm not that stupid.
What?
They go under the ground. But you know what? All the water comes from under the ground and we got wells. And guess what? When we put all those developers in there, you know what is going to happen. Pemberton better tie their pants because presidential lake will be empty. There will be no water. We may have a lake, but guess what? We have to think about it. We want to remodel our town, improve our town, and people can come over here. Please start for the town. Now you're destroying a historical building in there, sold it for lousy 250,000, and the people were happy. But you want to put apartments upstairs. That's not the way to do things. Okay, all these lands were purchased and everything. For what? Now, before I leave, I'm going to remind you, and in this corner in here, you got a code enforcement giving warning and tickets to the people that doesn't clean their property. But guess what? This administration doesn't take care of their own tenants. You are good if I get a tickets because I don't clean my place. I take it to court, and I will beat it. Because this administration failed to do the job. You wanted the people to do theirs, you do yours. There's the farm right there. Okay? And I see Mr. Solicitor.
Hi.
Yes?
You won't be on your time.
Yes? I finish it, and I will get more things for my other next meeting. But I know about the Rockefellers, and I know the one in the Port Bridge, and I know the other ones. And I hope the people, yes, fight, and we're going to fight to them. We don't want these people. We already the state, we got a mega warehouse state. Now the farm. We need farmers, okay? Thank you. Now I need an answer.
Thank you.
Holbridge Park.
Yes.
Holbridge Park
That's
is,
under the Green
Holbridge
Acre?
Park is Green Acres and will remain Green Acres.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't, Mr. Administrator. Can you repeat it, please?
It is Green Acres, and it remains Green Acres. We're just changing it from the type of park it was to volleyball, I believe.
Okay. I want to say one thing in reference to the Green Acre. Okay, I live in Presidential Lake, and when Green Acre gave us a pavilion to put it in a park, we turned it down because we wanted it was a community center. And I was told, when Green Acre builds something, you cannot destroy it, or you cannot fix it, or it up nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. How are you?
Thank you.
Which time is it tonight? Okay, don't start yet. Wait, can you sign?
Doing double duty, taking Donovan's one job.
Good.
Ready?
Good, we want you to work correctly.
You set?
Hold on.
Let's go.
Okay. Number one, very disturbing to me, the way one of the residents here tonight was spoken to about the Agriculture Committee. A very disturbing way some of you people treat the residents. That's one thing. Number two, there's people in this room tonight who don't live in this town. I would like to remind people, Mr. Gardner, I don't know if he's listening. To me, I have a lot of people in this room that I got to know. I consider them loyal neighbors. I consider the people from out of town to come to these meetings very, very special, loyal neighbors. And people in this room who have been to a few meetings recently have heard planning board or council people disparage out-of-towners. I think they're very special. I think there's a reason they're here. It's because they think this town is beautiful. Why? Because the towns that they live in have been overgrown. It's a cancer. It is warehouses. It is marijuana stores and farms. It is solar panels in the middle of State Forest Park. It is with 1,500 drums, not gallons, of unidentified toxic chemicals in some of these State Forest old landfills. Okay? They want 4-story high row houses. The college paperwork said that the development there was $1,100, and this America Village, she's right. We are paving the way for these developers. Meeting after meeting, people come to these rooms when it's hot out, when they have sick family members, or they're sick themselves, like me maybe, battling with cancer maybe, or whatever else. I am telling you, the reason we don't want development is because you want to kill the trees. You want to take our tax dollars that we work hard for, to pay for water lines, wells, studies. The list could go on and on for these developers. Okay, so you want to steal taxpayers' money for this, develop all this development. You are destroying the people's hopes, dreams, and visions. We don't want this. Most of the people don't want this. There are some people from the schools who say they need rooftops. Well, or Dan Horn, we need rooftops. We need rooftops. I know people in this town who don't need rooftops to have a successful business. I can name a few. Tracy, she does the Dollar General. She says that her store in this town has more customers than all her other 5 stores. I can tell you, O'Brien's, they're prospering over there. People can do it here. We don't need all these new rooftops. As far as the school goes, my comment to the school people, and I'm going to repeat myself for people who aren't here, and welcome to people who are from out of town. We appreciate you. The residents in this room, we appreciate you. The other thing is, the schools. Just because their development doesn't mean their kids are going to go to our school. They could be going to Catholic, Holy Cross, Bishop Eustace, private schools, charter schools, Jewish schools, Christian schools. There's no guarantee that when they destroy and turn our town into a city, which is what they're trying to do, because it's not just one little thing here. It's not just what you're talking about tonight, the town hall. It's everywhere. They want to develop every little spot they can. They get voted out, and then Dan Hornicle puts it back on the agenda. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just trying to make a point here. Okay? Just remember, when you cut down all the trees, one thing: the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. Okay? Nothing but lies. Nothing but lies. What they're telling you about these pilot program tax abatements, they say you're going to pay full taxes in 5 years. You know what they do? They sell to another business before the time is up. And so we're never getting to get top tax dollars for these things. Okay? They're selling our land for dirt cheap. This is the tax breaks. As far as the teachers and the schools go, I have been told that they have 4 janitors for 7 schools. People have come to these meetings, said the ladies' rooms are disgusting in these schools. They don't have enough teachers, they don't have enough aides, they don't have enough janitors, they don't have enough bus drivers, that's what I've been told. So, just because people from the school want all the development, I suggest that you not listen to them. And my 5 minutes is up. I think it's a shame that that one of the residents up here had a question, and nobody answered it. Why did you call a special meeting on the 17th? To rush this development through before you quit here and go work for Medford? Did you apply to be an administrator in Medford?
Michelle, we don't talk about personnel matters in public, and we don't
I
attack public.
can.
Michelle,
I'm not
if
attacking anybody.
you are,
I'm asking you a question.
and your time.
Are you trying to rush this development through? Can anybody tell me why they called a special meeting when it was 110 degrees last meeting and the air conditioner wasn't working right? Can anybody answer that question? It was already asked tonight, so it's not my time. Nobody answered that question. We thought you could cut us a little break. Cut us a little break once in a while. Anybody gonna answer that question? That's one question I have.
I didn't call the meeting.
Huh?
I can't answer the question, I didn't call the meeting.
Well, can
You
somebody
allowed the
answer the
meeting.
question? Who called the meeting
Is there,
at the last minute?
is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening?
So they're not gonna answer why they called the meeting. Well, okay, I'll answer for you. They wanna rush this development through. That's why.
Good evening, Ms. Williams.
Last meeting, I was a bit dehydrated and I couldn't keep focus. I'm a little bit better now. So I apologize if I said things strangely, because I'm feeling strange. My questions go to the 2024 for the redevelopment plan. I don't understand why we need a redevelopment plan when we already have one that we're not following. So why are we paying someone extremely a lot of money for something we already should have had? That's my first thing. My second thing, oh, I left my phone over there. I was told I want to jump to, I don't know if it's in the right spot. So in 2024, that is for the police vehicles, and then 219 is for the stuff that goes inside the vehicles. Is that right? That's ridiculous. I think you're finding more ways to waste taxpayers' money. I was told, and it's in my phone, that a name of to contact for a police grant for the cars. Has anyone did that to try to save Pemberton Township some money? I don't understand the whole budget thing of when making a budget and then exceeding it and going above and beyond. And then there's one that says, oh, thank you. Rural development provides grants for money for police vehicles. Rural development. I'm not really sure what that was, but I was speaking to somebody and that's what they told me, where they could find grants for that. There was another one that was a ridiculous amount of money. That might have been new business. I think that might be new business, because I don't see it. So those are my main concerns of, what's going on. Oh, and one more thing. With the new equipment that you wanna buy the police officers, I'm worried about but everyone in general's, what's the word? Privacy? Privacy is the word. Because if they could scan my plate and know everything about me without even pulling me over, or not having a reason to pull me over, they could scan my plate and say, oh, now we have a reason to pull her over because we know that her registration just expired. We know that she doesn't have insurance. So they could scan a parking lot of a bar or of a parking lot and say, oh, as soon as they pull out, we're gonna get her not only for, having a drink in her, before she left, she also has no registration and no insurance, and let me find other things to get her for. I'm not saying that the police are out to get me, I'm just saying, it doesn't sound, my privacy is not being protected. By the grace of God, don't get me wrong, I got pulled over for stupid stuff, like my headlight was facing the wrong direction, and a police officer pulled me over, scares the bejesus out of you, and you lose plenty of time waiting for them to check all your stuff, for her to tell me that my light was, off center. Thank you, but really? I got things to do. But anyway, don't waste my time. Alright, so.
You didn't say that to the police officer?
I did not. Or she would have probably given me plenty of tickets for nothing. So, anyway, those are my concerns. Does anyone have any answers for me?
That it?
Well, how many minutes do I got?
You have 22 seconds.
22 seconds, ready? Lord, thank you so much for bringing us together again. Lord, I pray that you just give wisdom to this council and to the body as they speak. I pray that they are heard and that you just keep everyone in unity. Lord, don't let different ideas divide us. Help us to come together and bring this community together and the council together to do what's best for this township. I ask in Jesus' name. All right, there's my questions. Amen.
Okay. Mrs. Roy, I know you were outside all day because I drove past the so I'm just going to take a stab at two of these for you, Valerie. Number one, the 2/20/2024. And Mr. Hornicle is exactly correct. I think we've all been championing this for about a year and a half now, getting the master plan done. And I think Mr. Salka brought it up, and Daniel did a very good job of explaining that. In regards to the master plan, and I told everybody this through the process, it's not a cheap situation, right? I have the old master plan right here, right? So it's supposed to last for about 10 years. And then you're recommended to revise it or review it, right, Valerie? So, and again, I would just refer back to Daniel's answer because I think that was very well explained. Whereas we did, we could spread the cost out and basically make it more palatable for the township in general, right? However, I think it's going to come up a little bit later, and I'll leave that discussion for that time. But 147, if you would have saw the second bid, it was almost double that on the RFP process. So I think there's some things that need to be addressed in that resolution, and I think it will be tonight. In regards to 219, I can't say, 218 with the police cars. I'm pretty sure we're on a four car replacement, and we did 2 as used vehicles to save us money this year, right, Mr. Hornicle?
Yes, we actually did 2 used vehicles. One was the 4th one for last year, and then one was for 1 and 4 this year, correct?
So, and I think that's probably going to come up for discussion again later on this evening, because I do have a couple questions on that one. And the ALPR systems, 219, what you brought up, the only thing I could tell you, Valerie, is I'm going off of history and stuff that's been expressed to me, right? So you can take 2 trains of thought on this with the ALPRs. Is it Big Brother?
That's what it sounds like.
Maybe, right? And hear me out, okay? And I'll use I'll use some verbiage that's usually used in this room, and I'll say the sky is falling, right? So if you have an Amber Alert, right? And God forbid that car is in our area, and the police officers can come by and scan it and find out exactly who's in that car. That's one possibility, and I'm just saying that's a possibility, right? The other issues are Willingboro itself, okay? The old police chief there, Mike Randall, very good friend of mine. I brought ALPRs in front of administration last year and asked questions. At that point in time, the state was providing grants, you're absolutely right. I think they're very useful, and I think they do have a use. And I even asked Andy about the registration thing. I don't know what the state laws are for, you run a license plate and the registration is expired, you're driving down the road. I don't know if that would be considered a moving violation or not. I don't know if they can pull you over for that. I don't know. Right?
You can get pulled over
You
if
can?
your registration's active.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
right,
It's a $5 fee.
perfect, okay, so thank you.
Yeah.
Right? But again, do you want those type of people on our streets? If we care about the township,
Okay, but
Right.
I'm those type of people. Sometimes I don't make it to motor vehicles.
We
Sometimes I don't pay attention.
I get your point, you made your point, and it's his turn.
yeah, and I'm not shutting you down, and we could explain, we could discuss it and arbitrate it later, Val. But I mean, there's how much is too much, again, and I've expressed this before in this room, is, there's no solutions, only trade-offs, right? So what's better, we're human, we take an idea as to what's going on. If the police officers, we're down police officers already, if two of our police officers are out at 2 o'clock in the morning driving through Lake Valley Acres, and they have the ALPRs on the car, again, I can only say by precedent, it did wonders for townships like Willingboro, West Hampton, East Hampton, that have these things now that I've heard of. That, they've cleared old cars off the street that have been abandoned, which, I don't know if you drove down University Park, University Avenue today, but it was a nightmare, but they were also tearing up parking lot in the apartments. But there was if I remember correctly, and the mayor can correct me if I'm wrong, there was and Mr. Salka probably knows, there was an old red Mustang with a white top that was sitting out there since I was 12 years old, and it just got moved this past year. I mean, imagine if we would have this technology, and that car may have been able to be removed, a lot earlier. So I get what you're saying. There are give and takes. There are worries. But I think it's also a useful tool. That's all I really wanted to say. But we can debate it later on, back and forth, and I'd have my response. I'm sure you'd have yours, and we come together in the middle somewhere. But I think that they are a useful
Seven
tool.
vehicles, so they're not all registered at the same time, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Council President, can I make a comment? Not about this.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I notice a lot of people fanning themselves. I apologize. We have had intermittent problems with the air conditioning and with the thermostat behind me. And when I came in, this is sitting next to me. I don't know if this is a hint not to touch the thermostat or if it's working. And for that reason, I'm not gonna play with the thermostat, maybe break it where it gets even warmer in here. So I just wanted to apologize. I see that it is warm in here. I'd like to get the air conditioning colder, but I'm afraid if I touch it, it'll break completely. So,
Michelle Brown told me today the air conditioning was working fine. Just FYI.
You're up.
Good evening, Harry Harper, 18 Highland Road. I have so many. 209-2024, I understand, Ms. Burton brought it up earlier. If we really want to protect the employees and the citizens' civil rights, maybe we should take a look at that. And every place it says the township administrator shall, change that over to human resource director shall, so that the employees and the public might feel their rights are protected. Just my thoughts on that. 2/15/2024, Broughton County Auto Parts. I don't know what we're gonna do with Broughton County Auto Parts, if we're extending a contract or what, but we have 2 auto parts stores in town. Do we ever use them? Do we ever get prices from them? And in the area, there's 4 auto parts stores that are closer to Broughton County Auto Parts. Do we ever price them out? And do we ever think about buying in bulk to save us some money? First we should, go to our stores in town and take care of that, and then we should go for the best price. That's just my thoughts. 222-2024. CMH Associates, if I'm not mistaken, that company didn't do very good work for us at the sewer plant previously, and I think it cost us extra money. I hope there's other bidders. I heard Mr. Bianchini up here talking earlier about the bid list and stuff. You know, I mean, I just looked online myself today, and I know there's at least 3 other companies that do wastewater repairs, and you know, so I'm sure we could get better prices and maybe hold these people more accountable if we wind up going with them, because like I said, last time they didn't do the work properly, it cost us more money. Let's see, what else I have? New business, the trailer, they wanna redeck. Yeah, I see a price for the wood. I hope it's, you know, from what I know from trailers, it's gotta be the right kind of wood, right kind of planking. I don't see any information about fasteners. And when I've ever rebuilt a trailer, you need to inspect the whole trailer and make sure it's worth redecking. You know, sometimes you gotta replace the undercarriage because the supports are bad. And it's all things you need to take in consideration before you even spend a dime on that trailer. Whether it's worth repairing, what the total cost is going to be. You know, and last thing I have under new business is the Public Works, for new rules and regulations, spending $5,000 for that. There's already a set of rules and regulations out there. It's called OSHA. And as long as they follow the OSHA rules and regulations, we shouldn't have to spend $5,000 of the taxpayers' money to draw up some new regulations and rules. You know, I mean, if they need to do something in-house, I'm hoping there's a supervisor for the sewer department. He could draw up some extra rules and regulations that wouldn't cost us $5,000. There's OSHA and then there's MSHA. You know, they both, you know, do rules for workers, you know, responsibilities and stuff like that. But we gotta stop wasting money wherever we can here. And I guess one of the last things is, has there anything been done from last meeting when they decided to do an investigation on the Tom Boyd firing? So anytime you're ready, I'll listen to the answers.
Council President, if I may respond to some of the questions.
Go ahead.
For Resolution 215, we are expanding how much we're buying from Burlington County Auto Parts under the state contract. We certainly have looked at buying in bulk. Councilman Dewey recommended that several meetings ago. Our biggest problem is we have to build a bigger garage, which would cost a heck of a lot more than we would save in buying in bulk, because we don't have the storage capacity to buy in bulk. Regarding Resolution 222, we have no negative experience with GMH. I don't know where you're getting that. I don't. GMH responded to a statewide bid published by the Passaic Valley Sewer Commissioners through the North Jersey Wastewater Cooperative. Their pricing is terrific. That's why we're going with them. And then lastly, we have 5 experienced mechanics that work in our fleet division. They all got together, they all looked at the trailer, they all came up with a plan to rehabilitate the trailer. That's why that's on for tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, I did have one more. The purchase request for $5,000 for the sewer division has nothing to do with OSHA. It's about the rules and regulations of operating a sewer utility. Environmental regulations change. You have to periodically, and these rules haven't been looked at since before the township took over, so it's overdue. But the rules and regulations for running a sewer utility, whether they're published through the New Jersey DEP or the US EPA, a professional engineer has to look at them periodically and make recommendations. You may not like that answer, but the professional engineer who works in wastewater is most qualified to look at it. We came up with our list of things that we felt needed to be changed, and we shared that, and we're working with the engineer. But ultimately, they gotta go through and look at our rules and regulations and figure out what needs to be updated from a regulatory perspective. And I think $5,000 was actually an astonishingly cheap price to do that.
Well, I can't talk back.
Yeah.
How about you, Andy? What do you have for
We'll
us?
assume you disagree.
We're not commenting on the investigation, it's a personnel matter, so we're not gonna comment on that now. That's all I have.
Thanks for your participation.
Thank you.